ask questions like that.
Oh,
What, like, go stand outside. Go, no. Whether you're playing or not, you said you could do today, and now you're...
No, I'm good. I'll be good.
You're asking stupid ass questions that have nothing to do with anything.
hey, mister. So why is it sunny and there's a moon?
What?
Why is it sunny in the middle of the day and there's a moon? And now it's sun.
Wait, you can still see the moon sometimes during the day.
Who knows?
That's not logical.
So?
This is in the scope art.
Moral of the story,
Moons are white.
don't throw rocks at soldiers, but if you do and they kill you, you can propagandize it to change public opinion. Because look at these guys. Look at these poor victims. Look at these poor victims. So the purpose is to show the British Army as savages, as oppressive. And the point of view is obviously pro-independence. Pro-independence. Tensions are diffused, are temporarily put down by Lord North, who's now taken over, Oliver North, who repeals the Townshend Acts in 1770, and Americans calm down. In 1770, the tension reduces, life gets a little better, Americans are like, cool, we'll pay a little tax on tea, the rest of the taxes are all gone. The army presence is a little mellower, all the taxes are gone except for a tea tax. Life is good.
What?
However, the Sons of Liberty do not give up their protest because they're still arguing that because of that declaratory act, we need to be ready for whatever Parliament's going to do next. Because they can, because they said they could, and they will. Super important in this story is the Sons of Liberty and this idea of committees of correspondence. Because now, the committees of correspondence are going to begin a network of communication. Hey, you in South Carolina, this is an update from Massachusetts. Hey, Virginia, this is an update from New York. So what's going to happen in this lull, as things calm down about taxes, is the communication is going to increase and start building communication networks between the colonies. So when things ramp back up, the colonies are more ready for a unified response. These committees of correspondence are super important because they demonstrate this idea of we. We are going to communicate as colonies, not us against them, colonially speaking. Committees of correspondence is super important because now we're communicating in ways we weren't communicating before. So when there needs to be a response, we can communicate it quickly. This demonstrates also a growing level of interconnectedness from an infrastructure standpoint in the colonies. That now we can get letters back and forth more quickly, and all of that is shrinking the world and making the colonies more connected. Excellent. So the Boston Massacre is a super big turning point in this conversation. Right? They only left the tea tax, not because it's making them any money, but because Parliament is too proud to get rid of everything. Pride always comes before a fall. So Parliament realizes the taxes aren't working, they get rid of everything except the tea tax just to remind the colonists, hey, don't forget we're still here. Because nobody wants to give up. So Sam Adams is going to play a huge role in this conversation about the committees of correspondence. He's a failure at everything. Right? We all have friends like this. But he's really good at politics. Successful, what are you talking about? Look at him. What are you? 92 pounds. So, Sam Adams is a failure at everything but politics, but he's really good at politics. He organizes the Massachusetts Committee of Correspondence. He organizes the Massachusetts Committee. And, don't turn around. 80 committees are going to spring up in various communities, through Massachusetts, through New York, through the northern colonies, so that everybody's communicating in a very consistent manner. What this communication is going to do is it's going to more quickly spread ideas of resistance. How to resist, how we're going to boycott, how we're going to respond by interchanging letters. Right, it's an early version like the post office. Just mailing things back and forth for how we're going to respond to British problems. British problems come back again in 1773, after things calm down, with the Tea Act. I'm going to argue this is Britain's most dumb thing they did. So the British have this monopoly called the East India Tea Company. Britain has this monopoly on tea. It's their company. It's funded through the government. and they have a monopoly, which means total control, for all British tea imports. They're the ones supposed to control everything. Many members of parliament are part owners of this company, which is kind of a questionable, you're talking about corruption? Now this is a question of corruption. So parliament members are owners of this company, and what they're going to do is they're going to allow the British East India Company to get rid of colonial middlemen. Now let me explain this to you. It sounds dumb, but I promise you it's not. You with me? Don't write anything down, just pay attention with me. So we have the British East India Tea Company. They're the ones that control the tea. And they sell their tea to colonial merchants. And who do the colonial merchants sell it to? Colonists. Yeah, they buy the colonists. Good. So who pays the highest price in this conversation? The colonists. So say, like they get their tea for $1 a pound. I'm just making numbers up.
Okay.
When they sell it to them, should they charge more so they can make some money? Yeah. So they charge them $1.25, and they charge them $1.50. You with me? So far, so good. So the problem here is with the Tea Act, the British are going to say, because these guys are struggling. They're struggling for money. They're not selling enough tea because these guys and these guys are buying their tea from the West Indies and they're smuggling it. So far, so good? So now England is losing money, which means these members of parliament are losing money because they're part owners in this company. So they're going to create this situation to try to get rid of this by getting rid of this. So now the British East India Tea Company can sell tea directly to the colonists. Question for you. Is that going to make Christoph?
What?
Explain this to me.
Well, basically, it's that the colonists, they're paying more than they should, actually.
No, really not yet.
Or not yet.
Vibe with me. Say something up, I don't need you mouthing these out. So in theory, if we cut out the middleman, do colonist prices go up or down? Down. Down. Because you're cutting out one layer of the sales process. If it gets expensive every time it goes to somebody else, that's how sales works. You're getting rid of it, and now they're going to say, you know what, you were paying $1.50, we're only going to charge you $1.40. Prices went down. Is that good for the colonists?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else is that good for? The British East India Tea Company, because now they're getting $1.40 instead of $1.25. I know, it's crazy, huh? And the colonists are still pissed off as hell.
I wonder why.
Why? Talk to me.
They're taking away, like, not only the jobs, but the opportunity for profit.
Yep, it's the simple fact of control. Which tells me all day, every day, this is not a war, a revolution, an independence movement of taxes. It's a matter of who can control who. So by getting rid of the colonial merchants, you screwed a bunch of colonial merchants. And really, we're paying less money because we're buying this nonsense from West Indies anyway. So what it does, it tells me that it's not even about taxes, it's about being told what to do. And the colonists don't want to be told what to do by somebody across the ocean who they don't even care about. So to me, the Tea Act is the best indicator for what the Revolutionary War is actually about. And it's really about self-government. Oliver North, and this again shows the disconnect. He's like, oh my God, the colonists are going to love me. I'm going to get them cheaper tea. And the rebellion is huge. Just like the proclamation line. Oh, they're going to love it. They'll be safe from Indians. And everyone's pissed. So that's all I needed to draw the math up here, is to get you guys' head around the fact that yes, the price goes down, but people are still mad about it. So the British give this East India Company special prices and shuts out colonial tea merchants. The reaction, the Boston Tea Party, which you've been talking about for like 2 weeks. The Boston Tea Party colonists dress up in disguises. They go onto the boats of the East India Tea Company and they dump 18,000 pounds of tea into the harbor. Oh, you're going to tell us where we're going to buy our tea from? Cool, it's in the ocean. Iced tea. Salty tea.
Salty tea.
Salty tea, yeah. That'd be a good brand for like a patriotic iced tea company. Right? Salty tea. I like this. So here's what it looks like. They dress up as Native Americans. I'm not entirely sure why. And they throw all the tea, and here we have people all excited and fired up and pumped up. And they make very special care to not damage the boat. Because the boat is just somebody's shipping the boat. They just damage all the tea. So even in revolution, they're very careful to respect property rights. And say, we respect the boat and the boat owner and the shipping company, they're cool. You're cool, F you, I'm out, right? And they get all the tea out. So unfortunately, as I talk about with this idea of escalation, the British are going to escalate their response with what are called the Intolerable Acts. They're called the Intolerable Acts in the colonies. In the actual name of the law is the Coercive Acts. What does it mean to coerce somebody? Yeah, to force them. So the colonies call them, they're so intolerable. Right, like some of your writing styles. Super intolerable. Other people call them, they're named in Britain the Coercive Acts. They're trying to force the colonists to behave. But the more you punish somebody and the more they rebel, eventually one side has to break. Yes, ma'am? It's a link. Liberty will reign. So it's a combination of acts. Really what it is, which aren't, the specifics aren't necessarily important. But what it does is it closes the Boston Harbor. And that's New England's only way of making money in business is shipping and trade. So it closes the Boston Harbor. It shuts down the Massachusetts Colonial Assembly. So they lose their money and their politics. It reinforces the Quartering Act and puts troops in Boston. And they're thinking that the colonists are going to this is going to actually make them lay down and quit. If we coerce them, yes sir.
Is that a noose in the background?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So what ends up happening instead is the colonists are going to take their tax collectors and begin tarring and feathering them, which sounds like a really, really bad way to get punished / killed, is covering you in hot tar, what they like put on roofs and roads, hot tar, and then covering you in goose feathers. That's why he's all covered in white.
Wait, so they would die?
Sometimes. Sometimes, yes sir.
What did you say that they closed the Boston Harbor in Massachusetts?
They closed the Boston Harbor, which is the only way Boston makes money, and they closed the Boston Colonial Assembly, which is where they make their decisions, until they can pay back all the money for the tea. But the colonial reaction is, nope, that's not going to be enough. We hear from multiple colonies, we are all Bostonians, this huge show of unity as well, that says you can punish Boston, but all of us are going to rise up against you. But the big reaction is the First Continental Congress. That needs to be in your notes. This reaction is the First Continental Congress. So it's a turning point because it's basically the most punishing Great Britain can get, and the colonists still don't bow down. And it leads to the First Continental Congress. All right, so let's try to look at things from both sides, if you guys can be so kind. In our last 10 minutes of class. Our last 10 minutes, look at things from both sides. From the British side, they're saying, hey, we have fought and died for this expansion. We fought and died for this land. We're the ones who live here. We're the ones who risked our life, our health, our success in this brand new environment to create successful colonies. We are proud and loyal English people. We just want the rights that everybody else gets. We've built our entire economy to benefit you. Our entire economy is mercantilism. Benefit you guys. We are British in culture. We're British in name. We're British in skin color. We're British. So we need our God-given liberties. Reasonable perspective? To ask for respect given? Yeah, I think so. The British are saying, we've protected you from natives. We've protected you from Europeans. You've benefited because of our economy. Where else were you going to sell your raw materials and buy back your stuff? The only reason you're successful is because of us. You should abide by the laws that are passed because that's the way society works. We pass laws, you follow them. We're the government. Besides, you guys are second-class citizens anyway. You don't live in England, so you should have no desire to make English decisions since you live out there in the middle of the wilderness. And besides, people in Britain pay double to 3 times the amount of taxes anyway. So why don't you just sit down, shut up, and pay your fair share of taxes? Who's right? Of course you do, because you told me earlier a story that I really still don't care about, that you've had respect for England since the Revolution, which is hilarious to me. What war has England won without our help? So, talk to me then. Which side is right?
England.
Or, when I ask you guys which side is right, does it matter? No, but I need you to see both perspectives. So the First Colonial Congress is hugely, hugely, hugely important. I cannot stress this enough. It's created in 1774 as a direct result of the Intolerable Acts. Every colony is going to send representation except Georgia, because Georgia's too far away. They're way the hell down here. They're like, what's happening in Boston? Where's Boston? We don't really care. Cool. Nice chat. People that are worth knowing from the First Colonial Congress are some of the biggest names in American history. George Washington is there. John Adams, cousin of Sam Adams, more successful version of Sam Adams, is there. John Jay is there. So we have here is our in order, our second president, our first president, our first Supreme Court Chief Justice. So some really important names in American history. Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt.
You're fine.
Good speech.
Thank you.
Christoph Ibarra
Cool.
to Birmingham.
Deal. Peace out, Mara. But one thing, and this is important, because one thing, you can't walk in the back. Why do you walk up there?
More like
He wants to be in the camera.
So what comes out, though, is important. They publish their Declaration of Rights. Their Declaration of Rights is super important. They say, we are still loyal to Great Britain. We are still happy to be Great Britain. We're still cool as hell being British. But you can't tax us. Because you don't have that right because we have no representation. So even here in 1774, they're still trying to appeal to this fact that, hey, we're still British. Just cool it on those taxes. So they're kind of appealing to the king by being anti-parliament. So that's what they're trying to do on the surface, but underneath, they're creating articles of association, which creates organized resistance. An attack against one is an attack against all. We. If we need to rebel, we will have a rebellion. It won't be a Massachusetts rebellion or a Virginia rebellion. It will be an American colonies rebellion. Organized resistance. And this is where we really start seeing a full scale across the entire colonies effort at boycott, non-importation. The ceasing of buying stuff from England. Which is smart. That's one of the few weapons in the colonists' pocket is to stop buying their stuff. Very, very smart. Here's the First Colonial Congress. Patrick Henry is a very important name. He's from Virginia. And he's like, it's us. We have to help Boston. Virginia for Boston. New York for Boston. South Carolina for Boston. They're the ones struggling, but they're struggling on behalf of all of us. They meet here in Philadelphia. And this, I think, tells a story about this 12-year period. In 1763, at the end of the French and Indian War, here is where the British soldiers are scattered, right? Here on the frontier, Pontiac's Rebellion is out here. Up here in Canada, fighting the French and Indian War. Here on the frontier, fighting the French and Indian War. By 1775, where are all the soldiers?
Boston.
They're all in Boston. So it's no wonder there's a Boston Massacre. It's no wonder there's this tension. Excellent. So I have these two views. One who's anti-rebellion, one who's pro-rebellion. The first is Daniel Leonard. He doesn't matter in history, but his view is cool. The second is Patrick Henry. And it's one of the most famous speeches in American history because of the last line, which you probably have all read before. So I'm going to have you read them both in the last, excellent, 8 minutes of class. Perfect. Hey. And then tell me, how do the opposing views both justify their perspective on independence? Cool? So take 6 to skim through them both. You're reading. And then the day is done. I don't care about that read. Sorry, the Morel's class takes forever. That's not a me problem, that's a you problem. It is. Now it becomes a you problem, doesn't it? Good for you. That's cool, man.